so this is AP World History, Chapter 3, final section 3 of this chapter. And today we're going to look at the Bantus, a group that is totally different from the Egyptian civilization and Nubian civilization that we have been looking at in the past two videos. So they're pretty important. They have, a couple major things that are connected to them that you need to just remember when you hear their name. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so this is kind of the area we're talking about with the Bantus. They start over here under, remember, sub-Saharan Africa is everything under the Saharan Desert. So this is really all the areas that they migrated to, the Bantus. So just keep this in mind when you see this image. If you ever see it again, this is probably the Bantus migration. So like I said, the Bantus are coming from sub-Saharan Africa. They are settled along the rivers and open areas of the forest. That's pretty much where they settled. They were navigated in canoes. So they moved along in their canoes from one area to another into different forests. And they were clan-based villages, meaning that they probably stuck together based on their families. And they had chiefs who were in charge. So probably each clan had their own chief who was in charge. And they traded regularly with the people they encountered. And a lot of times the people that they encountered were people who were hunting and gathering, not necessarily people who were farming. So these are like descendants of the Bantus here that you also see. So this whole idea of Bantus, you still have that history, those descendants that come from them. This is where you would see a majority of the Bantus as well. Again, it's below the Saharan and sub-Saharan Africa. And what ends up happening is they spread south to West African forests. They go towards the Congo, and they begin to settle. Some of them, they decide they're going to settle, and others, they continue to migrate into various areas of sub-Saharan Africa. And the reason they migrate is because of probably population pressure, meaning that the people that had settled in one area, they began to farm. It got so large that it wasn't enough space for them to hold everybody. So what ends up happening is that some of the people begin to spread out into different parts of Africa. And it didn't happen in these mass movements. It wasn't like, oh, let's all move together. It was similar to that of the Indo-Europeans, where it was happening intermittently. So meaning that it was happening every so often, essentially. And by the end, they will begin to occupy most of Africa south of the equator. Again, like I said, because of these population pressures. And they will use canoes and agricultural aids in their migration. So they would move by canoe, and then they would settle in an area and practice farming. So remember I said one of the big claims to fame for the Bantus is going to be iron. That's huge. You hear Bantu, you need to think iron right away. So it helps spread iron through sub-Saharan Africa, and this of course is going to help not only in military purposes, but also with farming as well. So as the Bantus are moving from place to place, this also means that they are spreading agriculture. And agricultural societies begin to come up in sub-Saharan Africa, and they will build distinctive societies and cultural traditions. One of these are this idea of age sets or age groups. And pretty much that means that if you're of a certain age, then you have a certain responsibility in your clan. So if you're, 15 years old, then your responsibility is to help, the male elders. That is what the age sets or age groups would do. In terms of religious beliefs, for the most part, they were monotheistic. They believed in one single impersonal divine force that could take a form of a spirit. And they believed that it was this one force that was going to punish them or reward them. Nyamba was a deity that created the world to them and the principles that govern it. So pretty much this is the deity that's in charge of it all. And it stepped back and allowed the world to proceed. So pretty much this deity is like, I created all this, and now you're running the show. I'm not going to interfere. And then based on how you act and how you behave, I will provide either reward or punishment. And of course, they adapted beliefs from others. All right, so your discussion question 8, discuss the religions of Egypt, Nubia, and Bantu. How is Bantu monotheistic belief different from Egypt and Nubia? Okay, so that is pretty much the takeaway there from, or that's pretty much the section there. Your takeaways really need to be obviously Bantus. Bantus are important. 1, for the iron. 2, for the spread of agriculture in sub-Saharan Africa. And 3, I don't know if you saw it very quickly in the slide, but they spread language. They spread their language throughout sub-Saharan Africa, and now to this day there are different varieties and dialects of their language that exist. All right, so we'll see you guys again in chapter 4 videos.